Hello, everybody. Welcome to the back porch. We're going to have to
Hi.
say it again.
Yes.
Because, hello, everybody. Welcome to the back porch. We're doing a double recording today. Hello out there on YouTube land.
Yes.
Hello out there on
Spotify.
Yes. And
podcasts.
Apple and wherever you're listening.
Yeah.
We're glad you joined us
We're
today.
very happy you're here.
Welcome to the back porch. Again, not on the back porch.
Yeah, a little chilly this morning.
We dodged more tornadoes.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yes. What a scary. It was a scary weather week, and so I'm not a fan of cold weather, but I will take it over hiding with my family in our little tornado closet.
Yes.
Because we're not small people.
I was in the
and it's not a big closet, and I'm claustrophobic. And so I have to battle, do I want to get blown away a tornado, or do I want to die of claustrophobia? Which way am I going to go here? Neither one sounds pleasant.
I was in the corner of the basement with my dog on a leash and my cat on the cat tree just like chilling.
Oh, yeah. When we come out of the closet, Stevie was laying in the bedroom floor, laying on her back, not a care in the world.
Let it take me.
Maybe we should watch the animals during the storm to see what they're doing.
Because they have instincts.
I don't know that my cat really does. She shares a brain cell with a collective amount of other cats, and it only passes through every so often in this house. So I'm not sure if she's the one to follow when it comes to animal instinct. And then my other cat the other night was trying to go out in the middle of the storm. It was straight down lightning. He's like, "Oh, let me get out there and check it out."
No.
So maybe wild animals, but not the two domesticated cats in my house. They'll get you killed in a heartbeat and then eat your body. They'll be like,
"Oh God,
snack!"
Wow. Snack time for mommy.
Yeah. Snack time thanks to mommy. I'm gonna eat her liver. Today on the back porch, we're talking about animal cannibalism.
It wouldn't be cannibalism because they're not eating each other.
That's true. When animals just eat their humans. I don't know. God, that's dark. Maybe we should not talk about that.
So maybe we should switch to what we're really talking about.
What are we
Because this might be triggering people.
Yes.
We're talking about triggers today.
Trigger warning.
Woo!
That is our topic today.
Trigger warning because we're talking about triggers.
And trigger, I cannot stand that word because it's so overused.
It is overused.
You know what I'm saying? Everything's a trigger these days. But truly, triggers are a real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Any kind of trauma, even it doesn't even have to be physical trauma, like an emotional moment where you've had in the past where something similar happens. It's like when I'm in my therapy group, we talk about that because like somebody will be talking, you'll be like, "Oh shit, that story hits me," and I'm triggered. But that's a part of the process.
So triggers are going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. That's just part of life. Something is going to happen to make you feel a certain way, make you feel uncomfortable, scared, whatever.
Yeah.
So the question is what to do when they arise.
Right.
You can act in one or two ways, and there's something called muscle memory, and a lot of times we react out of muscle memory when something traumatic or triggering happens.
Right.
So the goal is how to not stumble when you get triggered.
Right.
So how do you do that, Mary? On paper, if you gave me a quiz with 10 different triggering scenarios, on paper I could say, okay, this is how you do not, get triggered, what or what not, or I guess getting your emotions maybe from a trigger.
Yeah.
I can write it down and give you the exact answers. But if something happens in real time, that's the trick. How do you, instead of react?
Well, and I kind of feel like the fear responses kind of fit in with the trigger, like the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn.
Yes.
And it may not be as extreme. But like I know when I get triggered, it depends on what it is. But sometimes it's like horrible fear, and sometimes it's sadness. But I think the whole thing is, not in every everyday moment can you just get triggered and be like, I can feel whatever I feel right now.
Right.
Because sometimes, you have to work, you have to help people, you have to do whatever. I think the important thing is when you do get triggered, if you can compartmentalize that, but come back to it later, and say, okay, now I'm in a safe place with myself to feel what I need to feel. And I don't want people to ignore their feelings,
Right.
But like if I'm in group and I'm triggered, I can say, okay, this is happening for me right now.
Yes.
And it's important to know, okay, like, where is this trigger happening? Like, what am I feeling right now? Is it fear? Is it sadness? Is it anger? Is it this? And I think it's important to recognize that, and process it. Like in group, it's a lot easier, like you said,
Well,
even on paper or something. But when I'm out in the real world,
it's a safe place in group to say, okay, this is
I can feel this right now.
But if you're on your job, and no matter a customer, a coworker, or whatever pisses you off, if you react in a negative reactory way, then it's gonna, there's gonna be repercussions, right? So the goal is how to step back in that moment. And to me, it's a dance. There are times that I'm like, boy, I'm an expert at this. Look at that. That person pissed me off. And I just smiled and said,
go on. Separation.
And then there's times, that person pissed me off. I'm going to throw punch them, And I don't want to be the person. I always tell people I'm an energy matcher. I don't like that about myself. I do not. I respect somebody so much that you can be cussing them up one side and down the other and calling them everything but a child of God, and they will just look at you in the most calm fashion and be like, "Are you finished?" I'm like, how do you do that? How do you do that? Because if somebody's coming at me like that, I mean, I'm ripping off my gloves. I pretend like I'm 7 foot tall and bulletproof, and I'm ready. I'm ready to throw punches. That's not the kind of person I want to be. I want to be, because all that's going to do is, if somebody triggers you and you react in a negative way, it's just going to become
feed off each other,
and it's going to become a train wreck. And nothing's going to get resolved except emotions and egos and all that getting in the way. So if you can step back from the moment and say, "Wait a minute, this person's losing their mind, but it has nothing to do with me."
And I think that's a big part of it. Like when somebody triggers me with anger, I have a fear of anger. I think we've talked about that before, where I've seen a lot of anger, and I have in my past been a very angry person growing up as a teenager, especially. And so now when I am triggered, or at least used to, I would just kind of like, okay, I'm going to remove myself from this situation. So because I knew how I would react. But there has to be a way to where, like, you can face it still and you're here with them. And it is that separation piece where, like, I'm okay. I'm okay within me. I know that I can handle this. Like, I don't have to respond that way. And it takes time to learn that,
And it's practice.
It is practice.
And you might get it right 10 times in a row, and then the 11th time
you lose your shit.
you can, and that's part of life. We're all human. Nobody is going to get it perfect 100% of the time. But the goal is to get better. Because if we all can improve in that way, what a better world is going to be. You know? Because hurt people, like we say, hurt people hurt people.
And it's not intentional.
No, it was sometimes. Most of the time. Listen, there are times it is intentional. And you can tell it's intentional.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just, I'll give you an example. Somebody kind of did something to me passive aggressive a few weeks ago, and it was a slight dig, but when you know what I'm saying. And it pissed me off. It was through a message, and it pissed me off in an instant. And I was just ready to go through the phone, and I reacted in a way that was not. It was. I had to look back at myself when it was said and done, and say, okay, this person, the way they acted was not appropriate. It was a little shady, if you will, but that did not give me the right to react back the way I did. You know what I'm saying? But I let myself in that instant, instead of saying, Kim, step back, take a breath. This is this person's shit, not yours. I just jumped in with both feet. And it's like, you ready? You ready to go?
We're going to throw hands.
You can't do that. And have a productive society.
No, that's true.
You can't.
What I was going to say, like, triggers to me is like, it coincides with trauma responses. Because a lot of the time the triggers come from something in your past where somebody has said something similar or done something similar. Or even, for instance, like, so some of my sexual trauma, I was in a gas station one time, and this is 5-6 years ago, before I was even really in therapy, and a guy was adjusting his belt. And like, that immediately took me back to a moment. And I was like, then your heart starts pounding, and you're like, okay, you're in public. Let's not freak out. And so, and I did okay with it, but like afterwards, I went outside and I just had to sit in my car a while. But yeah, it's hard in that moment not to just say, screw it, I'm not going to buy what I was buying. I'm just going to go to the car and cry or whatever. But, and I think trauma responses and triggers go hand in hand.
Yes.
Like, I don't even know. I don't even know. I guess there's a separation of it because one of them is the trigger and one thing is the emotions. But
it's still, I think when we respond to things, even in a triggering way, when we get triggered, like I said, it's a muscle memory.
Yeah.
Your whole life, that's how you survived. Right. Whatever situation you were in, you were like run to safety or whatever. Yeah. Whether it was run, hide, freeze, or fight back.
Right.
That's how you survived.
Yeah.
And so it is second nature, maybe even when you're in that situation. That's why it happens so instantaneously, because it is a second nature. It's like breathing. Yeah. You don't think about breathing or blinking. It just happens.
And you're back there.
And I think when that happens, you're immediately taken back to whatever the situation is that makes you feel that way.
Right.
And it's just it's a safety mechanism on this. So I can see, a trauma response in a way, a physical, in a sense, trauma response.
Yeah, and it's any kind of abuse or even just being neglected or mistreated. Like, I haven't been in this situation, but say you grew up with your parents not feeding you or something,
Okay.
And then say you're at a different moment and like you don't have money for lunch that day or something.
Right.
Like that can trigger the hell out of you because of your past,
sure.
And so not just are you hungry, but you're miserable and in your emotions, and like how do you respond to that,
Right.
And it's just a matter of keeping yourself safe and trying to identify those feelings and emotions. And I used to, when I worked at Walmart years ago, I would become overwhelmed and like start not having a meltdown, but kind of, and I would have to go to the bathroom and like cry and like, okay, get this together.
Right.
So even, sometimes if you need to feel stuff right then, just kind of put yourself in a safe space where people aren't gawking at you.
You can't lay down in the middle of the electronics aisle in your Walmart vest and throw a fit. You're gonna cause a scene.
Right.
Right.
So go to a place that's safe for you, where you feel,
You can push the emotions back for a moment.
Right.
The danger is pushing them back for forever.
Yeah.
I will tell you another thing that I've learned about being triggered. And this one's almost a little uglier than a trauma response of something happening to you to make you react, because this is an internal one. Yeah. Sometimes you get triggered because when somebody does something, it mirrors your own behavior that you don't like. Yeah.
That's
and
true.
I'll tell you the little passive-aggressive dig. Why it pissed me off is because I can be that person.
Yeah.
If you make me mad and I'm like, it's good, I forgive you, and then a week later something comes up and I dig at you in jest about what happened, that's me being passive aggressive.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't like to admit it, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So when this thing happened to me, as I said, in the scheme of things, it wasn't even that big of a deal. You know what I'm saying? It was just one of those. I wasn't triggered because, oh my God, somebody was passive aggressive to me in the past. It was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I can be that person.
Yeah.
And I don't like it.
No, and I totally get what you're saying. Mine is it's not anger, but it's the same thing. I used to 100% play the victim a lot of the time. That was my way of keeping people at bay.
Right. Well, you were the victim. But you cannot
stay there.
Right.
And I stayed there. And to get that attention I felt I needed, I very much played the victim.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm not 100% overcome that, but I've learned a lot, and I've mostly overcome playing the victim, I think. And there are times you fall back into stuff. But now when I see other people do it, it irritates the hell out of me. And I want to be like, you are playing the victim.
Right.
Of course, what good would that do? They would just get pissed off. In a safe space, if I had a conversation with them, that's one thing. But me just saying, quit being a victim, well, that's not helping them, and it's making me be an asshole. Pardon my French, sorry. But
we've established words in this one podcast, and all of a sudden you're going to apologize. We apologize.
We apologize for being here.
The past, the present, and the future, because we say dirty words sometimes.
Yeah, but we're not saying the F one, so we're okay.
We're doing working really hard not to do that one, because it slips sometimes.
Yes.
It's like. I don't know. It's like poetry at times. It just flows with the sentence.
But playing the victim, I see other people do it.
Yeah.
And it irritates me, even though I spent at least probably 40 years playing the victim.
Right.
Because that's what I felt brought me the attention I needed, and that's what got me through. But to see somebody else doing it now, it irritates me.
Because you see, you see also where it got you in life.
Yeah.
Me being passive aggressive or whatever gets me nowhere.
Right.
And it just hurts somebody else.
Right.
I'm just throwing that pile of crap onto somebody else.
You're
you know?
Yeah.
And so that's what it is. I think part of it is you can look back and see
where it took you,
and it took you nowhere good.
Right.
And anything and everything that happened to you in your past, you did not deserve, for sure, and you were a victim, for sure.
Yeah.
But you did have to decide, I'm not going to live in this space anymore.
Well, and that's what got me through that was somebody in my group saying, "Hey, I think you're making excuses," and we've talked about
They triggered you.
They did,
and it was a good trigger.
It was the best thing, and it triggered me for a month.
Yes,
I thought about it constantly, but so triggers can lead to breakthroughs.
They can really make you stronger.
Yeah,
they can. They're not fun.
No,
they're not fun. There's times, man, that you can be in situations that really even have nothing to do with you, but just like an environment, like you said, and where you can just feel like the anxiety, like we were talking about, kind of rising up in you.
Yeah,
and it's scary. It's just so weird how, even though like I'm standing here right now, I'm safe. I've got keys in my pocket. I can get in my car and leave anytime. But almost you feel like a little child again. You're just like froze. Like, what do I do here?
Yeah.
It's just so strange how it all affects us.
It can take you right back to a moment.
Yeah.
Like right back there. And physically you respond to that. And that's one thing I was going to say about triggering. So first off, when I went to the partial hospital years ago, I would get triggered in group, but then I'd go home and process it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very healing. Then you go back the next day, you might get triggered again. But processing that is important. But I was going to say, like when you're in the middle of a trigger, like grounding. I know you've probably heard of grounding.
I love grounding.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I thought you did, but like when I'm in, so say I was in that store and I'm panicking. So it's touch something, you know, kind of like if I'm at a coffee counter, kind of squeeze the counter a little bit.
Right.
I'm here. This is this
reality.
Moment. Yeah.
Right.
I'm here. And then also, like they say, listen for something. Like listen to a bird, smell something.
Yes.
Use your senses to say, I am here. I am now. I am safe.
Right.
I am not in those other places where my brain just took me back to.
Right.
And my emotions,
Well, I'll tell you, and I know you cannot do this to me. You brought up grounding.
Yeah.
I've been practicing meditation.
Yes.
And it is so helpful because what it does is it brings you into just right in this moment.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about it. It helps to clear your mind, and your mind's going to wander in it. You're human, but it helps you. I do a guided meditation that's helping me learn how to do it, and it can help you kind of bring your focus back and all that, but it puts you right in the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you do ground in it. Like one of my favorite ways to do it is go outside when it's not 20 degrees or straight down lightning.
Yeah.
And barefoot, put my feet on the ground and just feel it, and it will tell you in the meditation, feel the surface that's holding you up, whether you're laying down, sitting, just connect with that surface. And I'll tell you, the other night in the tornado closet, we were in a legit tornado warning. It got sketchy.
It was pretty.
And as I said earlier in the podcast, we were all kind of crammed in the closet. And like, I'm claustrophobic. Yeah. So first of all, that is just not fun.
Right.
And then, of course, we've got a storm barreling down on us. Yeah. I've got my husband and my 2 kids, and I'm concerned about all of it. And I sat there in that moment. I didn't tell everybody how I'm going to meditate, but I just closed my eyes and just started a breathing exercise.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a trigger. Well, I mean, kind of that closet is triggering because, God, we've been in it through some tornadoes, But it helped me in that moment just to say, okay, truly, you don't have any control over the storm going over your head.
Yeah.
You're just kind of participant in what's going on.
Yeah.
And it did help me in that moment just to kind of, all right, let's get centered and get focused.
I was going to say, you meditating is practicing being present. Yes. So in the moments that you find yourself drifting off, you can refocus because you're used to it. You've been practicing.
I have been practicing it.
That's huge, I think.
I would suggest it to anybody. It doesn't have to do. It can be a spiritual thing. You can make it anything you want it to be.
Yeah.
I know some people will steer away from it because they
think it's
well,
completely
for religious
spiritual.
beliefs they
Right.
might. And but I'm saying it does not have to be. It is what you make it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a little bit of both. I use it for some spiritual stuff, but I use it honestly to learn how to be more present in whatever situation I'm in.
Well, I think that brings up another thing, like the being present thing. I know sometimes when I'm by myself, I will mindlessly scroll on the phone just because I don't want to feel my feelings.
Yes.
And if you are especially triggered during the day, sometimes I think those feelings of not wanting to feel that, those actions that help you not feel your emotions will try to increase.
Right.
Because I know when I'm sitting there, if I've had a rough day, instead of saying, okay, let me process this, sometimes like, okay, let me stare at my phone. Let me eat everything in the fridge. Let me do this. When I realize, I'm like, okay, I'm anxious as hell. I'm freaking out. Put down the phone and just feel it. It's not going to kill me.
Right.
And it helps me. But we run so hard from feeling the things from that trigger sometimes.
Right.
And that's how you get better. You've gotta feel it. You've got to find that safe place.
You got to clean out your garbage can.
Yes.
It's gonna stink if you don't clean it out. And that's the thing. That it's scary, honestly, whatever your past is, whatever your triggers are, whatever it is, to stop and face them face to face and say, okay, this is how I've done it. And that was my catalyst for me. You know, I did not like how I was living my life. I did not like how I was reacting to things. Like on paper, everything looked beautiful. You know what I mean? But inside I was like, I'm running in a way that I don't like to, you know.
Yeah.
And to stop and face those things that I had just stuffed down for years.
Yeah.
God, it was scary. It is scary.
It is.
You know?
When somebody used the analogy of a wound, like if you have a wound and it starts, you don't take care of it, it starts getting red, it starts getting angry, it starts getting pus in it. You got infection.
Spreading.
Yes, it starts spreading. And if you never clean that out, it'll eventually kill you.
And it will kill people around you too. That infection spreads and you don't even realize it. I put this thing on Facebook the other day. I love analogies. And it was this dude and he had like 4 red glasses of juice, wine or whatever. And he was talking about, you can call it generational curses, family trauma, whatever, and how people pass it down from generation to generation.
Yeah.
And they don't even realize it. They're just, most of the time, they're doing the best they can with what they've learned.
Yeah.
You know, and they didn't learn a healthy way. So it keeps going down until somebody says, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's a better way to do this.
Yeah.
And it takes so much guts to say, it's going to end right here. If I can make it end right here and just see more and more people. And I'm not saying we both do therapy.
Yeah.
You do group therapy. I'm probably going to get into that before too much longer. And we both are huge proponents of it.
Oh, absolutely.
But we also say whatever way works for you. You don't have to do it the way we do it. There's different ways to skin a cat.
Yeah,
that's an old saying. I love cats. But,
I do too.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
We're sharing what works for us.
Yeah, but also there's people who don't have the money.
Yes.
And there are people with sliding scales and stuff. But some people still can't afford it. Anything. And you can find Facebook groups that will do it. You can find AA Zoom meetings. You know? It doesn't have to be AA, but you can find all kinds of meetings. And even just auditory meetings where you don't have to see people face to face.
Right.
But there are ways to connect. And reading, we talk about reading.
Yes.
That makes a huge difference. You can learn different techniques and all that.
Wherever you are in life.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're in, and there are times that life feels like legit hell.
Oh, yeah.
Like if there is a real hell, it could not feel as bad as sometimes life does in the situations we face. I can't imagine it. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you're still here on this earth and you can hear our voices, you're here for a purpose.
Absolutely.
And we're not trying to get hooey-dooey, preach you a sermon.
Right.
But if your voice is, if your ears are hearing our voice,
you're here.
You're here.
You've got a reason.
And there's a purpose. And we don't want you to give up, no matter what you're facing.
Yeah.
And life hurts sometimes.
It does. And we talked about earlier, like, if we had not survived our worst moments, all the beautiful, wonderful things we would have missed in this life. I mean, whether it's suicidal, whether it's whatever you're facing, like, if I had not if I had succeeded when I was young, we were talking about that, like, what would I have missed? So many wonderful things.
Yeah, I was telling you, I'll share this story. Wayne and I, we lost our first child at childbirth, and her birthday's coming up here this Saturday. She would be 24 years old. She lived for a couple hours and went on. And I was telling Mary during that time, I mean, that was the hardest thing I ever faced. I was 25 years old, almost 26, wanted to be a mother more than anything. And this little soul come into my life for a couple hours, and I didn't get to keep her. And I told Mary, I said, there was months and months and months. I did not care, honestly, whether I lived or died. I wasn't going to actively do something to harm myself. But I was just in a situation of depression that if I got hit by a bus and went on, it'd be okay. I didn't have a desire to. I was existing.
Yeah.
I was waking up every day and my body was functioning, but I wasn't living, and I didn't care if I did or didn't. And I was talking to my husband about that the other day, and just what a deep, dark time it was. And he just looked at me and he said, "My God, if you wouldn't have, look at everything you would have missed."
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got two amazing kids that just blow me away in every way, every day. They're just the two most amazing things that walk this earth, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I've got this wonderful family. I've got all these friends. And it was hard because at the time, 24 years ago, I couldn't see any of that. I couldn't see a future where I would be a mom or I could even be happy. And I couldn't imagine what happiness was going to be because that version of my happiness got taken away in an instant.
Yeah.
And it changed me.
Yeah.
And that's what we're saying. And your story might not be my story. My story might not be your story, but we've all got a story. And just hang in there. Whatever you're facing, just please hang in there. Life is worth it. It's hard. We know it's hard.
And when you're in that dark space, you can't see, like you said, you can't see a better tomorrow, but there is a better tomorrow. Yeah. Like Kim's saying, it's so worth it I would have missed my niece being born. I would have missed meeting you. Well, no, I met you, but I would have missed all those years of fun we've had. You would have missed
our relationship,
and
being
your kids.
To my awesome kids.
I was going to say, like, I wouldn't have known any of that.
No.
And that's what I've used when I was talking to and it's just reiterating what you said, but when I've talked to other people who are going through it, like, dude, it can get better and it can be beautiful, and you don't know all the wonderful things that are going to happen. Yeah, there's sad times, but there's always going to be better times. Right. Always. I promise you that. Like, I mean, it's so hard to see when you're in it, but there will be better times.
We're not discounting that if you're going through hell. We're not, we get it. We get it. We're not trying to say, we get it.
Yeah.
Life will downright kick you in the stomach, in the teeth, in the, wherever. Yeah. I mean, it will. This is a wild journey we're on, you know? But what I'm realizing is we're also vastly different, but we're also the same in so many ways.
Connected.
We are so connected. Yeah. And you're not alone.
No.
You're not alone. So if we can help you in any way, you've got our email, thatporch2121 at Gmail. You can message us on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can message us on Spotify.
Yeah, and I mean, that's awesome that you're saying that, because, like, we're not professionals.
No.
But I have been there, and Kim has been there, and we would love, if you guys need us, reach out. We're happy to help any way we can.
Right.
We're not professional, but we can talk to you and love on you.
We can listen.
Yeah.
And we can say, hey, look, we got the name of a really good professional if you need one.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, but no, we're not. We should always just claim that. You know, we're not professionals. We're just two middle-aged women that have lived some life and seen some stuff. And
if you are in a super dark place and you don't feel like reaching out to us or anybody else, 988 is the new line, and they will talk you through a crisis. You know, and it's so important to stay here with us. You have a purpose, just like Kim said.
If you didn't have a purpose, then your soul would not be in your body still.
Right.
I mean, that's the way I look at it. Until our journey is done.
Yeah.
And I think people can take themselves out of a journey prematurely. I understand that, but I don't know. Just hang on tight. And if you get triggered, because our original
Yes, I was
podcast
gonna
was
say.
triggers.
Well, but trigger after trigger. Sometimes, like I used to be, I would get triggered and then I would spiral down. You know, like if you don't know how to pull yourself up out of that, or talk to somebody to help you pull yourself up out of that, it can lead to deep, dark thoughts.
Yes.
So yeah, triggers are huge. But if you learn to process and to feel safe, to ground yourself, like we're talking about, you can get through it. You know?
Can. And we just don't want anyone to give up.
No.
Life is a precious gift.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm about to be 50 in a little over a month, you know, which blows me away. I'm like, how in the hell did I get here so quick?
Right.
But you know, my God, what an amazing journey. Even there's stuff that I wouldn't want to do again.
Right.
But it's all made me who I am.
Yeah.
And even when life seems its darkest, if you got breath in your lungs, there's still light.
So I'm going to do a Shawshank Redemption reference. It is a rated R film, but it's a wonderful film.
I love that. That's the best movie. Is this how we're going to close out?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
There's two quotes in that movie. One of them is, and this is not, so it's get busy living or get busy dying.
Oh.
And to me, that's like, no, I'm going to survive. We're going to do whatever it takes to get through this because I've got a reason to be here. The other one is, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies.
I love it.
That is one of my beautiful things.
To that. Y'all, we love you and thank everyone for continuing to tune in. We hope you're learning something good. We're hoping we're making you smile a little bit.
So.
We did not intend for this to be a mental health podcast
necessarily, but
it kind of seems the direction we're going. And until we feel the winds change us another way, I guess we'll keep going that way.
We love you guys, man. We're glad you're here. We hope we're helping you. And please shoot us out an email.
Yeah.
Backporch2121.
And we would love it.
At gmail.com.
Yeah. Sorry. I did not mean to interrupt.
No, it's at Yahoo.
It is. My God. We don't know.
Interrupt.
What was I going to say? Oh, subscribe, like
us.
We're trying to get our subscribers up.
Share, follow.
Yeah, please. If you like what you're listening to, tell people about us. They can see our cute faces. Look, aren't we adorable? We are
beautiful.
Okay, I'm going to get up and turn this off because we're professional like that.